Ales and Scales, The Empty Throne, Chapter 29, The Royal Duel. Rookengrad Castle. It is where Silvus is going to face Targon for the duel taking place. As risky the terms are, he would do anything to stop further bloodshed. First, he needs to focus instead of distracting himself with theorizing thoughts. They pass through the spacious square courtyard all the way to the main keep. The entrance hall is filled with guards, all lined up on the orange carpet keeping watch. The room itself looks more like a military hall, filled with stuffed hunted dinosaurs as trophies and Manchester-colored tapestries. A big cactus or two can be seen around the corners to reflect the entire lands of the Betadom. In front of the party is a large door leading to the throne room, with two staircases in between, being blocked by the guards. Jem gestures one of her claws for Silvus and his companions to stop. She turns around, taking a brief look at Buck with a sad expression, and then at Silvus, looking serious.
I need you three to wait here as I head to the throne room to let my Beta Lord know of your arrival.
Jem snaps her talons, causing nearby guards to turn around, facing the three. They have their weapons ready, with their eyes all on Silvus to make sure he does not leave. Jem leaves them behind to go through the doors, leaving him by himself with the two Anvar cousins. Silvus turns to Buck with an inquisitive look and asks, "What was that?" "What was what?" "The way Jem looked at you. Was there something between you two?" Silvus raises one of his brows while Buck closes his eyes briefly, looking down. "She and I were very close. I first met her at the blacksmithing academy, where she showed me the ropes." Buck looks back up, with cheeks beginning to turn red, moving a claw behind his head, making Ostia giggle behind Silvus. "You could say eventually we became more than just friends." "A blacksmithing academy? So you were trained to be a blacksmith?" Silvus asks, changing the subject, making Buck perk up with a smile. "Oh yes, I am actually an enthusiast of different weapons and armor, and how they are crafted, like your sword." Buck points to Silvus' sword on his back. "When I was a hatchling, I always admired my dad's work as a blacksmith, watching all the weapons and armors being made." "So you want to be more like your dad?" Silvus asks. "Not just to be like my dad, but I want to prove that blacksmithing is not an Omega's only job." Buck finishes, pumping two arms proudly with a lot of enthusiasm. He sounds very dedicated to breaking the stereotype of certain positions meant for a particular caste. Silvus looks to Ostia, who giggles in response.
"It's true, Sylvie. He has a grand collection of replicas of weapons and armor in his private quarters. When I took Buck to the castle library, he would immediately try finding any books related to weapon styles of the kingdoms of Cretacia."
"And find out if any Beta Lords were blacksmiths." Buck finishes rudely for Ostia, who glares at him, causing the former to make an apologetic face. "Well, I eventually found out from the books that Anvar Rook, the first Beta Lord of Manchester, was actually a blacksmith. So I ran to my parents and used it to convince them to sign me up to the academy." Buck grins proudly until Silvus asks him, "Then what happened, since you are no longer in the blacksmithing academy?" Buck went sour, lowering his head and shoulders, telling him, "This war happened, that is what. Cousin Targon wanted to form a private army. Since we thought at the time the Mystatorium were corrupt, me, Jem, and a few others were taken out of the academy because he believes raptors like myself belong into the battlefield. So I trained to be a soldier alongside Jem." Buck looks back with a shrug. "At first, things were well. I became a captain of my own unit. As it turns out, I have leadership skills I did not know I had. Jem too is a good leader, but Targon believed her to be worthy enough to be not only his new bodyguard, but also sentinel of his rebel forces." "Why did Targon not have you as a sentinel?" Silvus asks, looking suspicious. Buck looks side to side. uneasily and continues. That is when my mother started to call out Targon for relying on a dark mistcaster. He might have believed that if I become Sentinel, I would command the entire army to turn on him, which I would. You remember the story I told you on the day we met, right? Silvus nods, confirming that he remembers. Taking a chance to learn about Targon, he asks, speaking of Targon, how good is he in claw-to-claw combat?
Big brother is a very good fighter, Sylvie.
Osea speaks up, earning Silvus' attention. He sees her looking very worried, with her claws together as if she is praying. Really?
Oh yes, I used to watch him spar with Daddy in our hatchling years. Before I was even sent to Magalo, he faced off with 3 of his wardens in claw combat.
That did not sit well with Silvus. It makes him nervous, learning how skilled in battle Targon is. He looks down at his own claws, covered in gauntlets, to check them out. He closes his eyes to imagine himself fighting Targon one-on-one. His thoughts get interrupted by the sound of doors opening. Silvus sees Jem walking back toward them, telling them that it is time, and guides him into the throne room. Rookengrad's throne room is a large, square, temple-like room filled with a crowd of raptor nobility wearing their orange scarves or cloaks. They are all gathered around 2 dining tables in between the center. They all have eyes glued on Silvus, walking along, following Jem as they approach Targon himself, who sits on his throne in front of a giant glittering cactus, which is the wellspring of Manchester. Targon looks at his guest, or opponent, with a stern face, while Bylark stands next to him, uptight, with a smile on his face. Jem tells Silvus and his companions to stop in their tracks in the middle of the room. She walks up to Targon with a quick bow before walking up next to the opposite side. We meet again, Targon says, looking at Silvus. I see that you also brought my sister and cousin. Silvus looks behind, seeing Osea looking at Targon with hurt eyes while hearing Buck making soft growling sounds. Where's my mother? Buck demands, rushing up to Silvus' side. Targon looks to Jem, then to Bylark, who nods for him to tell them of Doe's fate. Cousin, your mother was a traitor to our cause. You were there on the day we captured her, and her accomplices, plotting to overthrow me as Beta Lord, destroying everything we worked for. Raptors were starving and dying, yet you chose to ignore the needs of your raptors in favor of your ignorance, letting your mind be twisted by that vile fiend. Buck butts in, pointing an accusing finger at Bylark, who just stands calmly, making the crowd of nobles gasp.
Big brother, please tell us what happened to Auntie Doe.
Osea begs her brother, with tears flowing out of her eyes. Looks like your sister and cousin have the right to know what happened to your own aunt, Silvus says. He crosses his arms, looking serious. Targon gets up from his throne, keeping his frown, and tells him, for committing treason, Anvar Doe was sentenced to be fed to the Tarbosauruses we captured from Fenheim. Osea drops to her knees, crying at what she just heard. Silvus remembers Osea telling him that her aunt is like a mother to her. He can sympathize with her pain in her heart, the same feeling he had when losing his mother. Osea continues to weep, muttering,
How could you?
She swings her tail to her face, grabbing her feathered tip, burying her face and crying into it like a pillow. Buck is taking this very personally, tightening his fists while showing his teeth and shouting, You executed my mother! He is so angry, he almost draws his claymore, but Silva stops him as the nearby guards rush with their spears to ensure Buck does not try to assault the Beta Lord. Seeing Jem getting ready with a hurt expression, Buck reluctantly steps back, keeping his anger toward his fallen cousin for what he did to his mother. Silvus walks up a few more steps toward Targon. He puts on a face of determination and seriousness. Despite how fallen he is, Silvus still believes he can appeal to him. You could stop this right now, you know. No more raptors have to die. Targon does not look amused. Bylark makes a mocking huff and says, How pitiful. Still believing peace is possible. Typical belief coming from a snout of a young hatchling who spent most of his life reading books. Bylark turns his attention to Targon, advising him, Perhaps this duel is a waste of time. Why not just kill him already? This duel must be done for the sake of our cause. Killing Silvus prematurely will just make him a martyr. As potential Alpha King, I must appear strong for any raptors who serves me. Or have you forgotten who is in charge? Targon cuts off Bylark, looking suspicious with a glare. Bylark backpedals a bit with a nervous look, allowing him to go on with the huff, and mutters how annoying nobles are with their sense of honor. Targon climbs down the steps, approaching Silvus face to face. Being the same ages, the two male raptors are of equal height. They lock eyes with each other, creating tension between them. The nobles present whisper among themselves, warning what is going to happen. You know why you're here? Targon asks, keeping his frowning eyes on Silvus. Yeah. Silvus replies sternly. Well then, many of my troops that you showed mercy told me of your supposed lineage. If it's true, I believe it is only fair for me to finally test you, to see if you are indeed the Ultimar heir. Silvus does not respond. Instead, he continues to stand his ground, keeping his glare on the orca-powdered male in front of him. The same misguided beta lord who believes he has the best intentions, yet is ignorant of those around him. Targon looks at one of the drones and orders him to disarm Silvus. The drone walks up to Silvus, raising his claws, telling the Silver Prince to relinquish his weapon. It is the rule of the royal duel for two raptors to use their natural weapons, claws and teeth. Gauntlets are an exception. Silvus gives the drone his sword, while the other drone gives him a mithril ring to wear, so he won't use his mist powers to cheat. The nobles present, including Osea and Buck, are being ordered by the guards to spread apart. The crowd lines up, surrounding the two raptors in a square space. The royal duel is about to begin. The main rule is simple. If one of them either faints or dies, he will lose. The two male raptors begin to circle around, snarling with various hisses. They position themselves, looking like velocities surrounding their prey, getting ready to attack. Among the anxious crowd, Osea is seen conflicted, looking to Targon and then to Silvus, worried for them both. One being her brother and the other being the love of her life. Buck stands next to her, putting a comforting claw on her shoulder, hoping to relax her a bit as he watches the duel between his new friend and his cousin. With a vicious squawk, Silvus makes the first move by leaping in the air to make a leap attack, only for Targon to dodge it, followed by an uppercut, scratching Silvus' face. He kicks him on the ground by the side. Silvus quickly gets up, placing a claw in his face to feel blood coming out of the side of his snout. He tries another swing with his claws, but Targon sidesteps, making another slash and kick, but Silvus recovers his balance this time. Desperate to land an attack, Silvus makes 3 swipes with his claws, but Targon dodges each one and performs a claw fake and uses his other claw to punch Silvus in the face between his eyes. The impact causes Silvus to wince in pain, grabbing his head with both his claws, as if he has a big headache. He endures the pain, looking back at Targon, who is doing side hops, waiting for Silvus to make the next move. Desperate, he looks around to see Osea worried, while the crowd is cheering for Targon, not by choice, but simply not wanting to upset their beta lord. Silvus needs to find a new strategy if he's going to win. Getting back in position, he looks to his gauntlet-covered claws, getting an idea. Targon gets impatient and attempts a vertical claw swipe down, only for Silvus to use both his claws to deflect them, staggering the latter. Silvus looks down his gauntlets to take a quick look at the plates. It turns out he can use them to deflect Targon's attacks. Instead of attacking, he decides to switch to a defensive position, so he can attempt to tire out Targon, as well as study his moves. Enraged, Targon attempts to use claws to attack, only for Silvus to start using his gauntlets to deflect each one. Silvus' strategy seems to only annoy his opponent rather than tire him out. Being a veteran fighter, Targon proves himself to have lots of stamina, yet he puts on an annoyed face as he continues to attack offensively, while being blocked by Silvus' gauntlets. Targon makes one double leap attack, only to be blocked once again, but this time, he tries to put pressure on Silvus, hoping to break his guard. "Why don't you attack?" Targon demands, with frustration in his voice. Silvus does not answer, but instead, he struggles to push off his opponent with his arms. He refuses to answer, not wanting to expose his plan. With his teeth gritting together in rage, Silvus slowly lifts himself up and pushes off Targon, making him stagger. Taking advantage, Silvus makes a quick horizontal spin kick attack at the face, pushing Targon to the floor, causing the crowd to gasp. Targon gets up, feeling pain right at his snout, as if a bone or two shattered. Whatever pain he is feeling, he's so angry and continues to attack Silvus, only to be deflected. No matter how much Targon strikes, Silvus shows great reflexes, still using the plate area of his gauntlets to parry each move while learning the skills. Tired of playing games, Targon tries to swing his tail to whip him off balance, only for Silvus to make a quick hop and stomp on Targon's tail, making him scream in pain, followed by another hop with a brief stomp on the face in the eye area, blinding Targon in the process. Hopping off, Silvus sees Targon placing a claw on his left eye in pain. Silvus gets an idea, seeing that he created a blind spot. Targon is so enraged, he makes a desperate leap, only for Silvus to sidestep the attack toward the blind spot, allowing him to do an uppercut attack at the face, and high kicks him in the head. Targon struggles to get up, despite not being in a good condition. Back on his feet, Targon attempts to charge at Silvus for a bite attack, only for the latter to sidestep again at the blind spot and uses his teeth on Targon's neck. He swings him around and slams him vertically on the ground, making one big impact. The crowd gasps, either in awe or fear. Silvus keeps his distance as Targon tries to get up, but he can't. He begins to cough a lot of blood. He lifts his head up to see Silvus walking up to him. "What are you waiting for? Finish me!" Targon taunts, but Silvus does nothing but pant. Silvus looks around at the crowd with faces of anxiety, while Osea is seen shaking, worried what Silvus is going to do to her brother. He looks down at Targon to notice a tear coming out of his only good eye. Carefully listening, he can hear Targon muttering about how he just wanted to be a good Beta Lord like his father. As Silvus expected, Targon is just another misguided fool with good intentions. Instead of finishing the kill, Silvus crouches and says, "I won't kill you," causing the audience, including Bylark, to gasp. Targon lifts his head, once again looking surprised. "After all I've done, you would spare my life?" Targon, do you really believe what you are doing any better? Targon lifts his head up again, telling him in a snobbing voice, "I just want to make things back to normal. I just want to be a great Beta Lord just like my father before he died." Now Targon is starting to cry, but not in a drastic female-like manner. He grits his teeth, allowing tears to come out of his face. I promised to help me. I promised help to make Avalonia a better place. Bylark told me that his powers could be used for good. It is how he's deceiving you, just like an assassin would appeal to a noble's goodwill in order to get close. Silvus points to the crowd, directly to Osea and Buck. Look how the Dark Mistcaster is ruining your relationship with your family. Targon looks to the side to see Buck looking at him, disappointed, while Osea cries, begging her brother to accept the surrender. Targon looks back to Silvus and asks, Are you really the one who could put everything back together? Honestly, I don't really care what my status is. I just want things to get back to normal as much as you do. Silvus looks around the crowd. We all want to make the world a better place. The better question is, how far will you be going? It does not mean, however, that you will be excused from facing the consequences of your actions. Have you even seen your raptors? What do you mean? Targon perks up, confused. When I got into the city, I saw a lot of Omegas, miserable and starving to death. Silvus answers, looking back at Targon. Buck, Auntie Doe, we're right. What have I done? Targon blurts out, getting up on his knees. Silvus offers a claw for Targon to accept. Without hesitation, Targon grabs Silvus' claw and gets up back on his feet, announcing, I surrender. You won. The crowd cheers, not because their Beta Lord lost, but because he accepted an appropriate surrender, meaning that the war is over. Silvus takes off his mithril ring, while Osea runs up to him, latching him into a hug with tears of happiness, while Targon walks up to Buck, begging for forgiveness for what he did to his mother. Buck tells Targon that he will never forget what he did to his mom, but he will try to forgive.
Oh, Silvus, thank you for sparing my brother and saving him.
Osea gratefully thanks him, looking at him with tears of joy. Silvus is going to say something, but he hears Targon call out. The two raptors turn their heads to Targon to see him looking at him with a heartwarming smile. He looks to Osea, telling her, My dear sister, I am so sorry for all I have done. Will you ever forgive me? For an answer, Osea grabs Targon into a hug, telling him that she forgives him on one condition. He must deal with Bylark. So Targon turns around, facing Bylark, who still stands by his throne, looking furious. With an angry face, Targon walks up to Bylark, telling him, You ruined my family! You manipulated me into doing horrendous crimes! For that, you will be banished from my court forever! Out of nowhere, Bylark only makes a small laugh, earning a raised brow from Targon. Well then, your usefulness is no longer needed, which is why I have a plan B. Bylark grabs Targon by the throat, igniting his energy drain spell. Targon! Silvus, Osea, Buck shout out while the crowd all gasp in horror as they watch their Beta Lord being drained. Lord Beta! Gem draws her sword and tries to rush to Targon's aid, as it is her job as bodyguard, only to be force-pushed by Bylark's spell, as he continues to drain Targon's life. The guards attempt to stop Bylark, but they too get pushed off. You traitor! Targon struggles, while Bylark continues to admire draining his victim with a sinister grin on his snout. While you've been busy fighting those pests, I've been collecting raptors to drain them of their energy, to fuel full power to my potential, to destroy this kingdom for the glory of my masters. Perhaps, with such power, I don't need my masters anymore! Bylark throws Targon to Silvus in the crowd, right at their feet, looking lifeless. Osea drops down, begging for Targon to get up. Silvus quickly uses levitation spell to call back his sword to his claw. Buck draws his claymore, getting ready to fight the true enemy. The entire noble crowd only trembles in fear. Bylark begins to turn red as he begins to grow large in size. Spikes are seen growing from his shoulders. Horns stick out from his head. Pair of fangs grows from his teeth, and large leathery wings stick out from his back. He opens his eyes, revealing that they have turned glowing red. The nobles present all begin to flee the throne room, fearing for their lives. Silvus looks back to Buck and Osea, telling them to flee while he deals with Bylark. But the cousins, especially Osea, beg to stay and help. But Silvus insists that they flee for their safety. So they do, carrying Targon's body. As they run out of the castle, Osea stops in her tracks and turns around, facing the throne room where Silvus is facing Bylark. Osea takes out the staff from her back that Silvus has given her. She looks at it, meditating on what to do. Silvus stands his ground, grasping his sword on one claw, while at the same time igniting a lightning spell on the other. The transformed Bylark turns around, looking like some draconic creature from the underworld, gazing his glowing red eyes at Silvus below, with a sinister grin on his face. With the mist energy of a descendant of the mighty 5 heroes of Magnus, I have become the most powerful mistcaster of all Cretacia. The transformed Bylark continues to do his evil laugh as he thrusts his claw up high, igniting purple miasma-like energy from his claws, piercing through the rooftop, performing some kind of necromancy spell in full power. End of chapter 29. Hui, it's been a long time. I like to thank all of you for being patient, and I hope you all enjoy this latest chapter of my Tales and Scales, the chapter reading series. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And I can't wait to reveal the next chapter, or should I say, the last 2 chapters of Tales and Scales: The Empty Throne, starting with chapter 30. Stay tuned for the final showdown. This is the Blue Dragon Studios, and I say, welcome to my lair, and bye.